Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Red Donkey Projections. My name is Lucas, and I have Eric here as always.
Hey guys.
And today we'll be taking a look at our 2020 Senate election predictions. We'll be going through state by state, seeing who will take control of the Senate this November. And with that being said, let's get right into it. Let's start with the safe Democratic states first. Oregon, pretty much safe. That's a given. Minnesota's Tina Smith here. I think she will probably win by more than 15 points. She's not as well known as Amy Klobuchar is, but she can probably still edge out a victory. I'm sorry, not edge out, but she can probably win here more than 15 points. What else? New Hampshire, Jean Shaheen. We were initially talking about maybe the Republicans can make it competitive, but they fielded a not-so-great candidate against Jean Shaheen. If, Kristen ran, potentially we could have seen a challenge, but Kristen did decline. He's going to run for re-election as governor. So we have that as safe. Ed Markey in Massachusetts, we now know this one now. He actually defeated Joe Kennedy quite soundly, 11 points. That's a lot, considering, a couple months we were thinking that maybe Kennedy would win.
People thought that it was going to be a lot closer than it ended up. And, when he edged out a win, or not really edged out, when he won by 11 points.
11 points.
Yeah, and Ed Markey as an incumbent should have no problem taking this seat.
Right, and he's against Kevin O'Connor, who is a lawyer, has no public experience. Anyways, Illinois, Dick Durbin, minority whip, no surprise here. This will probably be safe as well. And I think that should be it for all the safe blue states. Let's head down to the safe Republican states. We have a lot here. Wyoming, Nebraska, Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Clyde Smith. We were thinking maybe a likely, but we're going to keep it as safe.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee, the only candidate who potentially could have won here was maybe Phil Bredesen, and he still lost in 2018. So we didn't see that happen. In West Virginia, they were also thinking maybe they can field a good Democrat against Shelley Moore Capito, but they didn't. They failed to find a good candidate. I think they actually ran a progressive, which is not good in a deep red state like West Virginia. All right, what else are we seeing? Is that it? I believe that is it for the safe Republican states. All right, very nice. Let's start with I missed a safe blue state. Virginia is safe blue. Mark Warner is here. He is one of the more moderate senators. The GOP in Virginia has basically been doing very poorly in elections. I don't see any chance that Warner can lose this seat at all. And New Mexico, Udall is retiring, but Lujan is running. Lujan is pretty prominent family in New Mexico. Mm-hmm. Ben Lujan is running. He's a representative. I think he can probably win this one in a safe as well. So that's safe. All right. I think that's it for the states. Let's head to likely Republican states now. Eric, why don't you start by talking about Kentucky?
Yeah, so as we know, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is from Kentucky. His challenger, Amy McGrath, is a moderate Democrat who did edge out a win against the more progressive candidate. What was his name?
Charles Booker.
Charles Booker, yep. She did edge out a win against Charles Booker. A moderate is more favorable in Kentucky because you're gonna see less progressive Democrats in Kentucky and more moderates. Although Amy McGrath is a moderate Democrat, Mitch McConnell is an incumbent majority leader, and despite his unpopularity, Kentucky is a pretty Republican state, and a likely margin does seem fair. Although polling does show McConnell not up by that much.
Yeah, but the thing is, McGrath doesn't really have that much experience. She ran for a congressional seat against, I believe, Andy Barr in 2018, but she still lost that seat by 2 points. It was very close, but she has not held public office before. But I believe she was in the Army. No, sorry, she was in the military. I forgot which branch. All right, let's take a look at the other likely Republicans. South Carolina. Oh, also to mention, Amy McGrath and Jamie Harrison of South Carolina, the two Democratic candidates, they are fundraising actually quite well. So keep that in mind. South Carolina, Jamie Harrison versus Lindsey Graham. So this one is interesting in that polling has been consistently showing Graham up. However, yeah, there are some ties, and they do seem to be slim leads. But South Carolina is very, very deep Republican. If Jamie Harrison wants to win, he has to increase the African-American turnout here, because the African-Americans do tend to vote for the Democratic candidate. So if he's able to do that, potentially it could become closer. But right now, taking a look at it, I don't think he really has that much of a chance here. All right. Alaska. Al Gross is the independent candidate. I think it's pretty much expected that he will caucus Democrat should he win, but he's pretty much not going to win. Sullivan is outpolling him right now, except for the recent poll with just even. Interesting. But you got to keep in mind, though, that is a pretty high undecided number. That's like 14 points undecided. And at the end of the day, a lot of the undecided voters are going to go for the Republican candidate because that's how deep red Alaska is. But we saw one poll with Sullivan up 13, and we saw one surprisingly with only up 5. Although, again, very high undecided number. Most will go to the Republican candidate after they finish deciding. All right. That should be, Alabama. Eric, why don't you discuss Alabama?
Yep. So we got Tommy Tuberville here versus Doug Jones, the surprising Democratic incumbent of the state of Alabama. He did narrowly edge out a win against Roy Moore, who had a lot of accusation against him against, inappropriate sexual behavior. So he, very narrowly edged out a win. Even though Doug Jones is a moderate, he really doesn't have a chance against Tommy Tuberville. Despite him being a football coach, he is a Republican, and there are a lot of very conservative Republicans in Alabama. Plus, Donald Trump did endorse Tommy Tuberville. So, with Trump's endorsement, I think the people of Alabama are going to vote Doug Jones out at the end of the day, despite the millions of dollars of funding he's getting.
Yeah, Alabama's very, very deep red. This is the only state that we think will flip from the Democrats to the Republicans. All right. Other likely Democratic states now. Michigan. We initially might have put this one as safe, but I think this one is likely. And no, I'm not doing it because Trafalgar showed him up by 2 points. Let me keep in mind that Trafalgar is a pretty bad pollster. You can say that he got it right in 2016. So not he, but they got it right in 2016, but they were one of the last ones to conduct the poll. So, and 2016 had a lot of undecided numbers, so that was kind of expected. I don't trust that they're putting John James up 2 points. Gary Peters is the incumbent here. John James ran for Senate against, I believe, Debbie Stabenow in 2018. He lost by, I think, 7 points, which I think people did think he overperformed what people expected. According to polling, though, Peters does seem to be leading, although this is not a reliable source, 8 points in most recent polls. Tara's group, I haven't heard of this before, but I believe that is an insider pollster.
And also, Gary Peters is very favored in general. His favorability rating is very high, and comparing to John James, he's doing well in the polls, and he's just more favored than him.
Yeah, I mean, John James does have a lot of name recognition coming off of the Michigan race. I think people do consider him to be a rising star. I believe he spoke at the RNC. I'm not too sure. But I think John James will end up losing at the end of the day in Michigan. All right. Heading now to Colorado. Colorado is also another likely Democratic state. I mean, this is not surprising. Colorado is an extremely blue state. Not extremely, but it's a pretty blue state. We expected to go to Biden in between 10 points around there. Yeah, at around 10 points. Essentially, the incumbent here is Cory Gardner, who is a staunch Trump ally. He was elected in a red wave year in 2014, so that really did help him here. He's against John Hickenlooper, which is probably one of the best candidates to field against an incumbent, considering that he has so much name recognition. He just came off of running for president in 2020. He was a former governor. His name is kind of fresh in the people's minds. So I think this one is probably likely. Looking at polling, 9 points, 9 points, 6 points. Yeah. This one, I'm nearly certain Hickenlooper will flip. And I think that should be it for the one more. Kentucky. Kansas. This is going to be Roger Marshall versus Barbara Boyer. Roger Marshall did defeat Chris Kobach in the election. We thought that, Kobach wins, maybe Boyer has a lot of chance, and we thought that if Marshall won, Boyer had no chance. Well, we were actually wrong about that, because according to the polling data, Marshall's only up by, 2 points, 1 point. This one is 10 points, high undecided number. But that's like basically nothing. 1 point. Again, here 11 points. So essentially, we think that he will win in less than 15%. But it's definitely going to be closer because Boyer is a pretty solid candidate. She's a very moderate Democrat. She, in fact, used to be a Republican, and she has experience serving public office as well here, I believe, in the state legislature. So for those reasons, we're going to put this one as likely. All right. Heading down to the lean states. And I missed another one again. Texas, John Cornyn here. He isn't I don't think he's as hated as, Ted Cruz might have been in 2018. And there's no Beto O'Rourke candidate. Beto O'Rourke was seen as, this rising star. He had a lot of money to spend. He visited every county. MJ Haggard, I don't think she could really do that during COVID-19. And I think in general, I'm not sure if, I don't think she had recognition like Beto O'Rourke did. If Beto ran here, I think he would have had maybe an easier chance. He would have had a chance at winning this, in my opinion. So, likely for now. All right. And I do think that one more likely will be Georgia special. Kelly Loeffler has, insider trading scandals against her. I think that she will make the runoff against Doug Collins. Warnock is not really polling that well here. So in my opinion, I don't see much of a chance for a Democratic flip here. All right. Eric, why don't you now discuss, let's go with Arizona.
Yep. So we're putting this as lean Democratic. And actually, sometimes we say, oh, it's in between lean and tilt or lean and likely. This, surprisingly, in the state of Arizona is either a very good lean or a lean likely, because let's take a look at some new polls that came out between Mark Kelly and Martha McSally from A- rated pollster Fox News. As we can see, 17 points up for Mark Kelly. So Mark Kelly was a former astronaut, very favorable, and especially favorable comparing to Martha McSally, who I'm sorry that I said she was even elected in last video, Senate prediction. She was just appointed by Governor Doug Ducey, and people really disliked that appointment because she wasn't righteously chosen to be that senator. And based on these givens, there's a very good chance that Mark Kelly does take this seat.
Right. She wasn't really chosen by the people. Yeah. I think that's what you mean. Because, she was appointed, which really was a terrible decision. Why? Yeah. She just lost the Senate race, and you're appointing her to this spot. I
forgot to say, she lost the Senate race, and then the governor just put her up.
After the death of John McCain, and then after John Kyle resigned. That was a terrible move. So that's why we are going to go with lean here. Mark Kelly's just so well known. He's the husband of Gabby Giffords, who also served in Congress. So that's very interesting that we are going to put this one as basically almost a likely. It's almost there. If a few more polls do come out showing Kelly up by, these high numbers, then we are going to likely put it to likely. All right. Heading now to North Carolina. North Carolina, initially we did have this one as tilt, but the more we looked at it, the more it seems favorable for Cunningham. Tom Tillis is not too well liked. He was elected in a red wave year as well, 2014. That definitely helped him. I think he defeated Kay Hagan. So looking at the polling data here, and Cunningham is a really strong candidate considering that he has held public office here. North Carolina, we did see a Monmouth County poll, university poll, showing it even. Yes, we did see that. However, +2, +1, +6, +7, So another plus 1, plus 10, plus 8. 9, 5, 3, 5, 3. So just to remind you of our margins, a tilt state is between 0 and 1, and a lean state is between a win of 1 and 5. In my opinion, I do think that potentially Cal Cunningham can take this seat in between 1 to 5 points. I think that's definitely possible. I think it's going to be more than a point. So that's why I think I am going to be moving this one to lean. Eric, what do you think on that?
Yeah, I agree. Cunningham is also the favorable candidate compared to Tom Tillis. He was elected in the red wave year. And now, if it's Cunningham versus Tom Tillis, I think Cunningham has a pretty good chance. Yes, just in general, the polls in North Carolina have been slimming because if you look back into like July, Cunningham was up by like a good 7 to 8 points. At some point 15. We made a video on that. Yeah, now it's coming back to me. So just in general, North Carolina polls have been slimming up, but I still do think that Cunningham will win this election in a lean margin, somewhere around 3 to 5 points.
I think it is interesting that 3 to 5. I'd go with 2 to 5. But something interesting is that in these Monmouth polls, Cunningham actually outperformed Joe Biden. Cunningham underperformed Joe Biden. Joe Biden polled in with a 2-point lead in all 3 of these polls. We project that Cunningham will win to the left of Biden. We don't even know if Biden's going to win, but we think that Cunningham will win this one, and we think that the margin will be greater than the margin that Biden wins this, or in the event he loses it, I guess him losing it. So we're putting this one as lean. Maine, we have Susan Collins. She was seen as this very moderate candidate that took, people of all parties, Republicans, Democrats, Independents. She was seen as a very moderate senator. She was the most popular senator for, I think, a pretty good time. She has since dropped to become the most unpopular senator. She voted for the Kavanaugh appointment. She voted against convicting Trump during the impeachment trials. So I think that's made a lot of people unhappy to see that she is becoming a bit too partisan. And we're seeing that in the polls as well. Gideon is a very solid candidate. She's the former Speaker of the House of Maine. No, is she the current? I think she's the current one, actually. Yeah. And she's also very well known throughout the state. And looking at the polling data here, that supports that as well. We did see an outlier here with Collins up 8. But generally, it is looking quite well for Gideon. And I think that she will win this one between also 1 and 5 points, because it is looking pretty good. And the final lean state here is Georgia regular. Georgia regular is between David Perdue and John Ossoff. Yeah. We saw some polls showing Ossoff up. We found a couple. But for the most part, we are seeing that Perdue is either up or tied. 3 points. 2 points. 8, 7, 6 from A+ pollsters. So we think that this one will be won at the end of the day by Perdue, probably by a margin of about, I'd say also 1 to honestly 1 to 5. Actually, maybe 3 to 5, somewhere around there.
3 to 5 makes sense.
Yeah, Ossoff is a former representative. Oh, sorry, he's not. He ran to become a representative, but he lost. But I think, Purdue's probably going to win this one. He's also, I think he's not unpopular. I'll put it that way. Anyways, heading now to Montana. Eric, why don't you talk about this one?
Yep. So we have the double Steves, Steve Bullock and Steve Daines. Bullock ran for president in 2020. Became a very popular governor that ran for this presidential race. Although he dropped out early, he did gain a lot of recognition. Steve Daines, he served in some political state houses or state Congress in Montana, and Montana is a pretty Republican area. Steve Daines is just being faced by a very popular governor, which makes this race so close. Let's take a look at the most recent 3 polls, which do put Steve Daines up. He is being favored. Yeah. Daines +6 from Emerson College. A bit worse polls puts Daines up by 3 and 2. But long story short, Bullock has not been up in the polls for a while. And if he's not up in the polls, that's not looking very good for him. I guess those Mitch McConnell, Nikki Haley ads have been working because Steve Daines is back in the polls. I think we can put this as tilt R, because even if Daines is up in these previous 3 polls, this is going to be a very contested race. And this is just part of that race where Steve Daines is up.
Yeah, we're very sad that we're not getting new data. And the last time we got a new polling was August 3rd. That's been a while since August 3rd. So that's been more than a month. We just haven't been getting any new data. So we're just going to keep this one as tilt for now. All right, now for the final state. Teresa Greenfield versus
Joni Ernst.
Yeah, Joni Ernst. Joni Ernst is not too well liked. Let's take a look at the polling data first, and then we'll go in depth and analyze this.
There was a recent story. You can talk about the polls first.
No, you can go first.
Okay, yeah. So there was a recent story put up by some articles that talked about how Joni Ernst kind of was downplaying the severity of coronavirus, and especially in her state. This kind of, it made very popular news headlines, and she got pretty highly disapproved by the Democrats. So I'm not really sure how much that's going to impact her, but, making headlines regarding, negativity on coronavirus is probably not going to help your campaign.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you on that. According to the polling data, though, it also looks like that in the most recent polls, Greenfield is up, which is kind of surprising because, we saw these 3 polls and we're like, oh, Ernst probably has this one. We'll put it as tilt. Well, apparently not, because Greenfield is really much not doing that bad here, according to the polling data. But we are going to, I think we're putting this one as a toss-up.
Toss-up, yeah.
But if we have to give it to one side, it would be tilt Republican. I think right now, looking at everything in general, Iowa is technically a swing state, but there are a lot of rural areas, and it generally is a little bit, I think it is more conservative than most of the other swing states. And for that reason, we're going to be putting this one as tilt. But generally, I do think the Democrats did a pretty good job of fielding candidates, fielding Montana, Steve Bullock, fielding John Hickenlooper in Colorado, fielding Mark Kelly in Arizona. I think that really has helped them probably take a lot of these states. And this is our final map, 50-50. We currently project that Joe Biden will win the presidency, and if that's the case, that means that Democrats have the majority because then Kamala Harris would break the tie. Mm-hmm. So that is the end of the video for today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this episode, please hit the like button. And if you like our content, please hit subscribe. We'll see you in our next episode tomorrow.
See ya.